Hi there. In this video, I'm going to talk about suffering, and it's the suffering that we all often feel when our partner has died. Suffering because we aren't able to share with them the things we want to share, suffering because they aren't there and we want to have those conversations with them, and all sorts of other different things. And I'm going to break this down into three distinct areas to look at how we can help us deal with that suffering. Before I do that, please make sure that you follow this channel. So below me, you should see a little subscribe button. Click on that subscribe button and then you'll see a little grey bell icon and you'll be notified when new videos go live. So suffering, it could be suffering over, as I said, we're unable to share something with our partners. And I remember very, very clearly, not long after Claire had died, I moved down to a beautiful area of the country, very, very different place to where we used to live. And I was driving down a coastal road with the sea, the sun was setting, there were the rolling hills, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I pulled over to the side of the road just because I wanted to enjoy it. And I was then just overwhelmed with this grief that Claire wasn't there to share it with me. We would have stood there and we would have talked, we would have put our arms around each other, we would have shared that moment, and that really hurt, that was really painful. So I'm quite aware of the suffering that we go through. Now, I want to break this down into three distinct areas. I want to break it down, this suffering, or the idea of suffering. Firstly, there is the thing. There is a statement of fact. This person is not here to share. That's a statement of fact. That's it. That's a statement of fact. This person is not here for me to be able to have a conversation with. That again is a statement of fact. This person is not lying in bed beside me every night and I'm cold. That is a statement of fact. And I think it can be very useful when we start to use these words saying, I'm suffering because any of these things, to break things down, to break it down and to identify what is the statement of fact. What is the fact that you are stating? That's step number one. What fact are you stating? She's not here and I want to lie next to her in bed. Can't have the conversations, can't share. Statement of fact. The next thing, step two, is how do you feel about that statement of fact? So statement of fact, she's not here to share. Statement of fact, I can't have those conversations. How do I feel about that? Well, I really miss those conversations. I genuinely really miss them. It's painful and it hurts. That's the second step. To be honest with yourself, how do you feel about that fact? And the third step, and I think this is sometimes the most powerful, is, are you going to suffer because of the way you feel? Now, I think there's a difference between feeling pain, and this can be physical pain as well as emotional pain. There's a difference between feeling physical pain, acknowledging that you are in pain, continuing in life even though you are in pain. There's a difference between that and suffering. And suffering seems to draw up ideas of continuously replaying that in our mind, going over and over and over, punishing ourselves because of it. So keep saying it and punishing ourselves with it. Keep reflecting on it continuously. And I think there's a difference between those three steps of recognizing the fact, acknowledging how we feel about that fact, and suffering because of how we feel. Now, the one thing to say is that suffering is a human condition. It's the one thing that draws us all together as human beings. We all suffer. We all suffer. The suffering may be over different things, but we all suffer. So on the one hand, the fact that you're suffering is, yes, you are alive, you are part of the human race, and it's the one thing that we all can do. And I think it's the one thing that we can all be aware of to manage. So I think it's okay to recognize the fact, to acknowledge how we feel, and then say, okay, is it possible to acknowledge how we feel without suffering? To say, actually, I feel terrible. I feel awful. I really miss her. I really want to share this beautiful thing with her. I really want to share this sunset. Acknowledge the emotion, feel the emotion, cry, do whatever we need to do. And then say, and now I am going to continue because I'm not going to suffer because of it. That's not to say that emotion might not appear again in the next 5 minutes, because it might. And I think as we go on the journey, it might be 30 seconds between times we have the emotion. Then it might be a minute. Then it might be 5. Then it might be 10. Then it might be an hour, a day, a week, a month. And this is recovery. This is the process that we go to. Feeling that emotion, letting it go, is very different to suffering. Do let me know what you think in the comments.